This is Carlsen, who uses the username Dr. Nyarkstein, versus Grandmaster Fedoseev, who uses the name Fokil to 1995. These are all super grandmasters who are rated more than 2,700 plus on live FIDE ratings. And trust me, this is an action-packed match. And you can see so many people commenting, so many people in favor of Carlsen, of course, being the world champion. Fedoseev has defended, but Carlsen already has a pass pawn on the d file. I think Carlsen is going to win. He has dark squared bishop on the A1 H8 diagonal. If I was Carlsen, I would have just M-pansad at that particular f6. But I'm not Carlsen, I'm not the world champion. Carlsen is Carlsen and he is the world champion, so I have to respect the man. Position is getting interesting by the minute. And Carlsen only chess is rated 3,141, which is a very high rating for any human being, that is. But some people do not regard Carlsen to be a human being. Or maybe a normal human being. Maybe I can use those words, normal. Carlsen is definitely something or someone out of this world. And the way he plays, oh my God, plays beautiful chess, amazing chess. And he's also fast on the clock. You know, when we used to study English, they used to tell us to do similes. So Carlsen, and also those other English terms. So Carlsen not only plays beautiful chess, but also but also very good or smooth on the clock. Carlsen is in a dangerous position right now. He's about to be forked on f2, and I think he sees it. I hope he sees it. Yes, he has seen it. His opponent has taken over that g file, so he'll bring the rook to g2 to try to capture that pawn, but Carlsen has defended beautifully with the recycled bishop. As you can see, Carlsen is fighting for dear life in this position. But he's playing brilliantly, I must say. Beautifully and brilliantly. His name is Carlsen. And though he's he was a pawn down, now he's a pawn and a position up. Wow. Carlsen is playing really well. He's playing really fast. He has won that one. I'm going to ask for scores because I think we found how many. We found the games already ongoing. And you see what people are saying. He just made it look easy. And the saying is in this Lichess new Blitz record, because Carlsen is the highest rated player in Blitz so far on Lichess, the Lichess platform. But let's go back and watch the game. Let's just follow it, how it started. As you can see, Carlsen is something else. Let's just follow the game again. From the beginning, d for knight f6. As you can see, Carlsen is playing. He has sacrificed the pawn on b5. I've learned from these grandmasters that they never give. There's no free lunch. They never give a free pawn. Pawns are never free. You capture the pawn at your own demise, if I'm to use that word. Another would be appropriate word is at your own peril. Carlsen is offering another pawn. All for what? If I was Fedoseev, I would capture that knight and I capture the pawn afterwards. I'm not Fedoseev and I'm not a 2-7 grandmaster. There must be a very good reason why Fedoseev has decided not to capture. But also Fedoseev had the opportunity to just fork. Play b4 and fork the knight, or the two knights when they were there. But now in this case, I think it was too much for him. I think Carlsen having the bishop on the e6, he was still going to capture the a2 pawn. So the fork would not work when the rook was involved. Now Carlsen, who was a pawn down, as you can clearly see, he's now a pawn up. And his pawn structure, all the pawns are connected, while Fedoseev, his pawns are not connected. And Carlsen is squeezing the life out of Fedoseev. I don't think Fedoseev is breathing. He has finally taken the knight with the rook, but it was more of force. He didn't do it willingly. That I can tell you. Carlsen is winning this one. Carlsen has decided to munch a pawn while he's at it. He has declined to take Fedoseev's rook, but he would have captured the rook and won easily if it was up to me. But you see, it's not up to me. Carlsen is looking for a mate. He's looking for a way to squeeze the life out of Fedoseev. My God. Fedoseev won't even know what hit him. I think the Fedoseev may be lucky to walk away with a draw if Carlsen is willing to even give him the chance. The way it's playing out, Carlsen is not willing. And you cannot force an unwilling opponent. Wow. Carlsen is going to take the queens out. Fedoseev resigns. So we look at the third game. And Carlsen is playing that petty trick. If I give you a free pawn, you capture it, then I check you on f4 and then capture the knight on e5. But Fedoseev, being Fedoseev, a super grandmaster, he sees everything. Sees those petty tricks. Carlsen now wants to push in the middle also, or engage on the queen side. He wanted to push d5 without losing the a4 pawn. That's why the queen went to b1. So for those players who are not as strong as Carlsen, you need to push that d4 pawn without necessarily losing. That's what makes grandmasters grandmasters. They advance and they gain ground without losing ground. So he has pushed that d4 pawn without losing the e4 pawn. And he has done it with efficiency. He has not taken many moves to do it. He has just taken one move, queen b1. And then weaker players will probably put rook e1 and try to get all the pieces, the two bishops away from that file, and then push e5, wasting a lot of time. And in chess time is called tempo. Multiple of tempo is tempi. So Carlsen does the maximum, gets the maximum results with the minimum effort. That is what makes Carlsen Carlsen. And you see, Fedoseev is thinking. He's thinking. But here in Uganda, because I'm in the country called Uganda, we say ne mama, meaning whatever he's doing may be of no fruition, because Carlsen is going to pull a heavy cane on him. Look at the time. Carlsen has not yet even used 1 full minute, while Fedoseev has already used half the time, which shows the level of industry, the efficiency of the person called Carlsen, that he gets maximum results with minimum effort. I think Carlsen is going to fire on b4 to try to undermine those 2 pawns, that is the c4, c5 pawn and d5 pawn. There's a fork on e6. Mama, Carlsen is really putting pressure on Fedoseev. Carlsen has to be careful that bishop may be rendered powerless. That's why he had to take it out. However, Carlsen, in the process of taking it out, has won for himself a knight pair. They always say a knight pair is weaker than a bishop pair and so many other things, but I disagree. What I can say is that it depends on the position. For example, in this particular position, Carlsen is going to fire the bishop on on g7 and then fork with one of the knights. And Fedoseev saw it, decided to capture a free pawn, and Carlsen could have captured that. He could have captured that bishop using using the knight instead of the bishop, but Fedoseev has called it quits because the canes were too much. The position was torn apart. In Nigeria, they have an author called Chinua Achebe. He wrote a book called Things Fall Apart. That book ably describes what Carlsen has done to Fedoseev in the past 2 games. And in Uganda, we also have some good authors. There's one called Barbara Kamenye, but mostly in East Africa, it's the Kenyan authors. There's an author who wrote a book. The author is called Ngugi wa Thiong'o. And the title of the book was The River Between. As you can see, Carlsen's pieces are tearing everything apart. I can say confidently that Carlsen's pieces are like the river between Fedoseev's pieces. Literally, Fedoseev is being torn apart. There's another book called Too Young to Die. Well, Fedoseev is an old person, but the way he's being caned like a kid who's too young to die. And Carlsen is applying pressure. Well, Carlsen has to recycle his pieces. The question is which side? He has to find the best square for the knight, and that square looks like E4. He can get his knight there by knight F3 and then F6 and then E4. Well, he had decided to go for a queen exchange. And about Fedoseev's thoughts about the queen exchange, he may not be too happy to do the exchange right now. Carlsen has a habit of forcing people to do what they don't want to do. And Fedoseev is somehow in that position of doing what he doesn't want to do. Carlsen is planning how he's going to trap Fedoseev's knight. Fedoseev this time is sharp. He's not letting go. There's a Jamaican who sang a song, "No letting go, no looking back." Fedoseev must have heard the lyrics of those songs because he's not letting go. He's holding on to this position so tight. But Carlsen has flagged players, stubborn players like this before. And as you can see, Carlsen is a master of creating imbalances and weaknesses. In one of the books by Dvoretsky said you have to create imbalances. And so Fedoseev, I think, he's not ignorant. He's an informed player, and he has also decided to create his own set of imbalances within the position. Carlsen may have to answer so many questions right now, but he's doing his very best. For this particular position, it is still very tricky, and as you can see, Fedoseev is in a pickle. Carlsen wants a draw, and he has gotten it. Wow. Carlsen has gotten it. Fedoseev is struggling terribly. Hey, Carlsen knows how to play these things. I rarely see Carlsen play e4. But today he has proved me wrong. He knows these things. Usually plays d4, London system, what? Such funny things. But today he is displaying that as a world champion. He knows these things. He knows how to put pressure on the right squares. And in chess as in life, you need to number one, identify the right squares, but two, you need to put pressure on the right squares. Right now, Carlsen is putting pressure on the right squares. Suspect rook is e2 instead of rook b. Yes, just as I thought. Carlsen is very industrious and is very meticulous. I suspect I was thinking of b1 before I could even say the word. It was already on the board. It had already been played. He literally thinks not only outside the box, but with Carlsen there's no box. Outside, inside, there's no box. You had better be careful, because Fedoseev has his sights on f2. Carlsen may have to bring back either the queen or the rook. Just capture that pawn, otherwise there will be an outpost. That also brings a problem on the h file which may be opened. So Carlsen wants to defend while still having a look on f7 himself. Okay. So all along Carlsen wanted to trap this guy's queen. The queen is in a pickle. Yes, it's not only a pickle, it's a fat tickle. Pico, tico, tico, pico. Fedoseev is about to resign. I think Fedoseev, when he goes back and thinks about these games where he's losing like a kid, he wonders, who sent me? Who sent me to go and receive these gains? I think I can tell you that he sent himself, he brought himself, and Carlsen is delivering the canes for free without fear or favor. He's distributing them. It's like a company now. Canes Distribution Company. Carlsen is still enjoying the beauty of the bishop pair. Okay, was, but it's no longer. Carlsen does not give free pawns. I don't know if Fedoseev knows that. He could have forgotten. He may need a refresher course. Carlsen is not an NGO. Carlsen has never been in the business of donating free pawns. Okay, Fedoseev now has to win this game at least. This looks winnable. Carlsen's bishop is strong, yes, and this is a sort of an open game. So if I was Carlsen, I'd go for the second file and look for a mate. But if I was Fedoseev, I would simply exchange one of the rooks out. So Carlsen has equalized kind of. So 4 pawns versus 4 pawns. However, Carlsen has a pawn majority on one side of the board. And Fedoseev is in trouble. Why is he in trouble? Carlsen has a pawn majority on one side. And on top of that, he has a passed pawn. All he has to do is put the bishop on d7 and capture the pawn on f5. But Carlsen being Carlsen, he may have a better plan. I don't know what could be better than ensuring that the passed pawn has free passage, unobstructed free passage. I think we can all see what is better right now. The rook is going to be sacrificed for the b pawn, because Carlsen is going to push that b pawn right now. Wow. Fedoseev saw it all coming. You know, Fedoseev is also a super grandmaster from Russia. So by the time he resigns, he has already seen the end. You know, they all begin with equal pieces, equal pawns. By the time it reaches move 20, Fedoseev appears to have equalized, but the equality is not there. Even where for example, you look at this game. This is a Sicilian, and I can tell you that both of these grandmasters know this opening in and out. And they are playing stuff that they know very, very well. So, Carlsen knows the move order. Fedoseev knows the move order. They know where the sacrifices are. So how come Carlsen is going to tear Fedoseev apart? How come? So Carlsen has to watch out for f3. And he protects f3 with queen. Carlsen's king is in the center. He has to be very careful. He's about to be sacked. He has to take his king out of the center, preferably. Okay, now he has to do it now. Doesn't have time. Question is how? Carlsen is aggressive here, but oh boy, does he know how to defend. Even in this position where he looks like he's losing, he's defending superbly, looking for small, tiny nuances and space, and he's getting it. I mean, you look at this position. Carlsen's king is on G3, but it's about to make its way to the safety of maybe H, or even just F2. Carlsen may lose this one. I think he's about to sacrifice that bishop. Because if he does not, Fedoseev is going to get his first win of the night. Oh my, he sacrifices the queen. As you can see, Carlsen is not human. He's playing beautifully, defending aggressively, counter-attacking. Beautifully. I think this one Fedoseev has won it. Whether you hate it or like it, Fedoseev has won this particular one. Carlsen had better watch his back. Carlsen is very fast. Fedoseev is also fast himself. And Carlsen barely has time. He has less than 20 seconds. Fedoseev has more time than he would care for. Checkmate. So yes, Fedoseev hits back. I mean, we're talking about a super grandmaster here. 2,909 only chess. Surely he should be able to throw some punches. Even if you go for a gunfight and you're carrying a knife, you should be able to pierce something or someone. This one, Fedoseev has won it. From just the position, I think Fedoseev has won it. I will not be surprised. Of course, Carlsen, with some Carlsen magic, can weave something mystical and he wins this position, but it will take a lot of conjuring. But I can tell you Fedoseev has won this one. Just look at how Carlsen is looking for a queen exchange, begging for it. Like Fedoseev is some master. Well, let's look at the position. C5 may come in any moment from now. Sorry, C4, not C5. I meant to say C4, opening up on the position on the king side. It's actually the queen side, only that the pieces are, that's where the kings are. So it's the queen side actually. As you can see, the kings are on D7 and B1. Fedoseev has the useless knight, which was on h2, but is now bringing it into the game. The knight was not useless, just appeared to be useless. Now, it was attacking a queen. Carlsen is looking for initiative, willing and ready. To give and sacrifice pawns for an attack. Oh God. Carlsen is turning into a monster now. Attacking c2 with everything he's got. And Fedoseev is defending that square. Because there's actually an attack on c3, but the target is c2, so that one of the knights, the dark squared knights, or even the rook can sit there. Why? There's a pawn on b3. So if one of the pieces manage to get through, it would be trouble. So Fedoseev has marshaled all the pieces in defense of c2. I still stand by my word. I think Carlsen may win this particular game. In the face of Carlsen's attack, you can willingly denounce your previous statements, because Carlsen makes it so easy. Carlsen with 14 seconds, more likely to win this game with these 14 seconds. Okay, this game is now drawn. It's a draw. Carlsen even wants to win it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? And he has won it. That is what they call a swindle. Swindle. Carlsen has swindled Fedoseev. Now, what magic does Carlsen hope to do in this particular game? Or maybe Fedoseev. It was not Carlsen, but rather Fedoseev. And Carlsen wants to capture a free pawn. A free pawn is the c2 pawn. That is, king is in a pin. So he has to take the king out of the pin by simply going king g1 or f6, pawn f3. So this is a very interesting middle game. Knight versus bishop, 2-pawn islands versus 3-pawn islands. So yeah, Carlsen is still keeping his pawn on e2 and is defending beautifully. This game looks drawish, but Carlsen has a habit of turning positions upside down. In Uganda, we call it okufusa, someone who changes things around. Carlsen is actually possible of, if I may call it okufusa, to be able to change things, like a magician of sorts. Right now, maybe under another spell, because the attack is on him. If someone says they are doing a dart on Carlsen, the dart is being done on him. And Carlsen is not capturing free pieces easily. It's capturing them very wisely with a pinch of salt. Why didn't Carlsen capture that pawn? I don't know. Should have. He resigns.